I really don't think any NBA roster has turned around their team like the Nets in recent history. It's not that their teams are bad necessarily. They just aren't winning and they don't like the amount of success. So for whatever reason, they, instead of trying to revamp those, they usually just go for the latter and blow it up and try again. In the early 2000s, obviously, there was the Richard Jefferson, Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, Kerry Kittle's team. Real fun, fast team, couldn't really shoot, really good on defense, couldn't get it done. So then they made the famous trade a few years later for Garnett and Pierce, trying to capitalize on the magic that Boston had in 08. But that didn't work, and instead set the franchise back 5 to 10 years and set up Boston for the next 5 to 10. Then there was one of my favorites, the most fun team in basketball in 2018. This is the D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen team that was dancing on the sidelines and shooting a crap load of threes and just having fun and really what I think showing what about the NBA is so fun. These teams you don't expect to be good. Obviously, though, with no superstar, the longevity of that team was questionable. Then that team was scrapped and all the pieces were traded for the KD, Kyrie, and James Harden super team, which everyone thought was just unfair and going to break all these records, and then didn't because they couldn't play together on the court because they were always injured. So then they traded James and acquired Ben Simmons, who hadn't played basketball in 2 years, thinking that would solve all of the issues. And now none of them remain except Ben Simmons, but I'm not even sure he doesn't want to play basketball anymore or even enjoys playing basketball anymore, considering he never plays anymore. But the silver lining of all of this is one player. The title of this video, Mikal Bridges. Besides having an awesome signature celebration and $1 million smile, there physically is not one aspect of his game to not like. He's a solid shooter. He's really proven himself to score as a number one now that that's what he's been expected to do, averaging 26 a game, as well as being an elite defender, a part of the all defensive team last year. Now, to rewind a little bit, let's just talk about what he has been and why I think this we don't talk about him is because I don't think anyone expected this. And so we've kind of just brushed it under the rug as a collective. So at Phoenix, he was a third option at best. I think there's an argument that he was the number 4, depending on how Ayton played, because obviously Booker and Paul are definitely more of pieces you'd think to run an offense through, more proven pieces. His last full season with the Suns, though, again, for being a third option, a 14-4-3 stat line, really respectable. And again, while playing all 82 games, which is, a whole separate conversation in its own right. In this team, though, he was more of a defensive stopper. He really needed to guard the guards that Devin Booker could not guard, as well as some of the forwards who really can give other teams difficulties, like your Kevin Durant's. So this is kind of what was his claim to fame, and how I knew him personally was he had all defensive team honors last year. And again, this night in and night out defense he provides. And again, I say night in and night out. He's played 449 consecutive basketball games, dating back to his junior year of high school, which I just don't think is talked about nearly enough because that's absurd. Nowhere near AC Green's record or anything like that, but still, in today's era with load management, my hat is off to him more than almost any player in the league right now, because that is just amazing to be able to do and to be committed to doing that and winning as well. He's been in the playoffs almost every year of his career, as the Suns have been contenders for the last few years, and now the Brooklyn Nets are the 6th seed this year going into the playoffs. So at this point, he's established himself, I'd say, as a good role player with a ton of upside. But then, after the KD trade that shook up the league, with KD in the middle of the night being traded to Phoenix for Mikal Bridges and then some, I think this is when we really saw his metamorphosis into what he has become, which is, I think, the Nets' future. Averaging 17 points a game with the Suns, which was a career high at the time, to then average 26 with the Nets and help them win enough games to make the 6th seed. Come on. He plays every game. He was required to be their number 1 scorer since they didn't have one. Someone had to step up, so he did. And he's also an elite defender. That is the perfect player. That is everything you can ask for in a player, genuinely. A two-way player who plays basketball. I think we underrate availability so much, and that's the one thing he has a plenty more than any other stat, I'd say the fact that he just always plays is unbelievable. He played 83 games this year. That's insane. I know it's happened before, but still, I just think that's ridiculous and shows a commitment to wanting to keep that streak alive and show his resilience. And not only this resilience and this this jump in points production as he's had to, but he's shooting 47% from the field, 37% from three, and his true shot percentage is over 60%. So even now, having to score and having to take those shots, he's doing it efficiently. It's not just like he's forcing them because the team needs it. Brooklyn has had a rough go of it in recent history, but now, with a bright and hardworking young star, they finally might have something to build around and not just trying to artificially make teams through trades. Thanks to the trades of Harden, Irving, and Durant, they have a good amount of capital too. 3 first-rounders next year alone is an amazing luxury to have. I'm happy for them. When New York basketball is good, the league is doing good too. That's just a fact. It's the reason why everyone wants the Knicks to be good so bad. And, they're finally starting to play good. Both having 2 New York teams in there, the playoffs, I just think is such a huge and underrated thing because that's some of the biggest markets in sports. And they don't win all the time, so people aren't sick of them like the Lakers or the Celtics. With Mikal Bridges on the Nets, they finally have this bright future I think they've been hoping for all of this time. And instead of trading these picks for aging stars like they routinely do, they have a young player with an absurdly high ceiling, in my opinion, and they're finally trying to build a culture and roster around him organically rather than forcing players into, square pegs into round holes. And I think is really what they've done in recent years to try and build teams. With solid role players like Royce O'Neal, really good defender, averages about 8 a game. Real solid player. Joe Harris, a 3-point technician. Nick Claxton, who's having a career year at center and finally playing like I think a lot of people were kind of hoping he would grow into, as he's been just kind of a raw young player. And then throw on top of that a great playmaker, underrated scorer in Spencer Dinwiddie, a weird explosive bench player in Cam Thomas, who has 4 40-point games this year and only averages 17 minutes of play. That's weird, but awesome. This Nets team has a bright future, a bright young future. And it's only going to get younger with those 3 first-rounders next year, as well as money that they now don't have to pay Durant, Harden, and Irving. So they have money and capital to build the team that they've always wanted. And mostly in part, that's thanks to one man. Mikal Bridges, Brooklyn Bridges, the Warden, whatever you want to call him. The dude is a certified baller, and I'm going to get to enjoy watching him rise to stardom and soon to be all-star teams as a fan. So yeah, let me know down below what you think in the comments. Obviously, I've sung praises for Mikal Bridges for the last few minutes, so you know what I think, but are you as high on him as I am? If not, feel free to comment down below, and if you agree with me, comment below too. I love responding. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll put the podcast that me and my friend Wilson do down below. We talk a lot of NBA topics. He knows way more than me, but I think we do a really good job on it. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.